We're very familiar with the man is the microcosm of the macrocosm. But I think, for our purposes, talking about the monad, we can say that the monad is the microcosm of the macrocosm. So the Greek term monad is from monos, the Greek monos, and it's defined as a unit. Monads animate all living things. The source of all monads is absolute deity, or param atman. In the Vedas, they use the term param atman. In Sanskrit, we use the term parabrahman or sat. In Chinese philosophy, they use the term the Tao. But the divine and eternal spark, monad, of the animal is fundamentally identical to that of a man, but lacks the principle of manas. So we're going to put up a slide of Shiva. I traveled to India in 1974 to the southern part of India, state of Tamil Nadu, and that is where this statue is situated. It wasn't there in 1974. In fact, it wasn't really built until 1996. So this is a relatively new statue. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records. It's the largest bust sculpture in the world, and it's 112 feet. It's made of steel, and it symbolizes the 112 possibilities to attain to moksha, or liberation, and also the 112 chakras in the human system. And it's called the Adi Yogi statue. Adi, we know in Sanskrit, means first. So it was inaugurated actually in 2017 by the Prime Minister of India. And they did it on a very, very special date on the Hindu calendar. It's a very special ceremony that we just celebrated, Maha Shivaratri. And perhaps, Ray, you might, I know that you attended the Shivaratri ceremony recently in California. Would you be willing to, just say a few words about that festival?
Sure. So Shivaratri, it happens once a year, and it's observed at Mount Madonna Center is where I went. And
I can't quite hear you very well.
Okay, is that better?
Try to turn up or closer to your mic.
But we can hear him really well, just so you know, the rest of us can.
Okay.
Okay.
So anyway, the Shivaratri ceremony that I attended was at Mount Madonna Center, which was founded by Baba Haridas. And it's a day of honoring Shiva, or observing the qualities of Shiva. And it entailed basically kind of a 24-hour ceremony that had pujas, a Vedic fire ceremony called the yajna, and people stayed up all night chanting Shiva chanting, and pujas, offerings, and they built 1,008 lingams, and performed a ritual of prayers and chanting and meditation throughout the night. And then in the morning, there was another ceremony of puja, and then they immersed all of the Shiva lingams into a lake. People went into the water. So that was basically it.
Okay, well, this new sculpture is actually in the second largest city in Tamil Nadu. And the largest city is Chennai, which before it was renamed several years ago, Chennai, it was, known as Madras. And back in the day, that is, of course, where H.P. Blavatsky and Henry Steele Olcott, the founders of the Theosophical Society, established the international headquarters in a large neighborhood of Chennai called Adyar. So that's where I was in 1974. I was there for about 3 months. So we can go ahead now and put the next slide up. Now I think we got to go back. We want the 7 globes. There it is. That's it. Okay, well, Jeffrey Barborka has a drawing of the 7 globes in his book. Now, I put this together with some fractal imaging just to highlight the idea that globe D of the chain, I mean, this image that we're looking at, we're not looking at 7 different planets. We're looking at one planet, but we're looking at a planet that manifests on 4 different dimensions. So the 4th plane is the most ethereal. And of course, the 7th plane is the most material of the planes. And, we are currently, our monads are currently evolving, as we know, on globe D. And there's a descent, into matter, and then an ascent, into spirit that we'll talk about. But our humanity now is evolving on globe D. And, Barborka, he emphasizes the postulate that the universe is septenary. So the entire universe is based on 7. So there are 7 globes in a chain. And on each of these globes, there's an evolution of 7 root races. And each of those 7 root races is broken down into 7 sub-races, and so on. So Barborka focuses a great deal on the 7 rounds, or the 7 cycles. And that means that one round is a complete cycle through all 7 globes. And the end of a Manvantara is the culmination of that great cycle through the 7. So our planet, like every other planet, is multidimensional. And Barborka tells us that each of the planes has its own objectivity and subjectivity, its own space and time, its own consciousness and set of senses. So the 7th plane is termed terrestrial or or Prakritic. And also the cosmic planes are subdivided into subplanes, and the subplanes are further subdivided. So there are actually 49 total planes within each of the 7 cosmic planes. And essentially, the Earth is reborn at the commencements of every round. So there's 7 rounds, and at the beginning of every round, the Earth is essentially reborn. So the universal force, which Blavatsky, she borrowed a Tibetan term, fohat, that tattvic force awakens the globes from their sleep, from their pralaya. And the invisible becomes visible. Another world comes into manifestation. So a great deal of attention is paid to this whole business of chains and rounds. And Barborka says that we are monads within the one life, which is existent on 7 planes or dimensions. We are divine sparks or fragments of the solar logos. A great being is incarnate in our star, our sun. And what we view as the physical sun is the vehicle of consciousness of this great being or solar logos. I'm just trying to skip over some of these notes. Because I know most of this material we're all familiar with. When Barborka writes about the tattvas, the forces of the universe, he mentions that, you know, with each round is associated with a tattva, and the first round is the force of fire, not fire that we know. And in other words, if you light a match, not that fire, but fire symbolizing a force which is associated symbolically, you know, with mind. The second round, air. Third round, water. Fourth round, the round that we're in, earth. And Barborka reminds us that the tattvas do not remain the same from round to round. In other words, the tattvas, the forces, also evolve. So he says that the key to unlocking the great mystery of our existence is our 6th principle, or buddhi. And to quote Albert Einstein, Albert Einstein's birthday is, I don't know if it's coincidence or what, but his birthday is Monday. You know, that's Pi Day, International Pi Day. That is Albert Einstein's birthday. He was born in 1879. Einstein died in 1955 at the age of 76. So his birthday is Monday. So here's a quote from Einstein. Do not grow old, no matter how long you live. Never cease to stand like curious children before the great mystery into which we were born. So the universe is septenary, and the principles of man are 7: Atma, Buddhi, Manas, Kama, Prana, Linga, Sharira, Stula, Sharira. Stula, Sharira, of course, the physical body. Our 5th principle, Manas, our intellect, no matter how evolved or brilliant, cannot, without the assistance of the sixth principle, Buddhi, open the door to the mystery of our being. So the key to unlocking the great mystery of our existence is Buddhi, our sixth principle. And Buddhi is sometimes defined as spiritual intuition. It is the vehicle of our divine spark or monad, the Atman or seventh principle. So the seventh principle is the monad, the Atman. So let me skip over something here. Too many pages. Well, we're all familiar too with this, the 7 root races. And when we say root races, we're really talking about stages of human evolution. And our humanity thus far has evolved to the 5th root race, 4th round, and we're now in the 5th subrace, or the 5th root race of the 4th round. So graduation for the monad from the human kingdom occurs once again at the conclusion of the 7 rounds, the end of the Manvantara. And Barborka spends considerable time talking about the senses and the association of the senses with the root races. With the first root race, we develop the sense of hearing. And the second, the sense of touch. Third stage of our evolution, sight. The 4th stage, taste. And the 5th stage that we're in now, smell. So for our humanity, the 6th and 7th senses are yet to evolve. So in the future, our humanity, our human life wave will evolve clairvoyance and clairaudience, the 6th and 7th senses. He mentions the Hindu calendar and the chronology, and he mentions Atlantis and Lemuria. Atlantis is often spoken of in the same breath as Lemuria, as if they existed simultaneously, which they did not. Lemuria existed before Atlantis in the Pacific Ocean and was home to the 3rd root race of humanity. Atlantis was the home of the 4th root race. The 5th, or Aryan race, exists today. There is to be a 6th and a 7th. There is quite a lot of material in the secret doctrine relating to the Lemurians and the Atlanteans, if you want to look at it. So he introduces us to the Tamil calendar of southern India. It's the chronology of the Hindus. And in volume 2 of the Secret Doctrine, mention is made of the great astronomer or astrologer of the islands of Atlantis. And they call him by the name Asura Maya. Now, according to Blavatsky, the Tamil calendar was compiled from secret fragments of Asura Maya's data. So he was Atlantean. And this chronology gets into millions and millions, trillions of years. For example, the manifest universe, which is temporal and cyclic, the figure given for its duration is in trillions of years, 311 trillion, 40 billion years, after which the universe enters its cosmic pralaya. And Barborka gives us the data for the days and nights of Brahma. He gives us a duration of 7 rounds, which is 4,320,000,000 years. That's the duration of a Manvantara, 4,320,000,000 years. But a complete detailed chronology is given in the last chapter of the book. And he also talks about the various yugas, the 4 yugas, and of course mentions that we are in the Kali, the shortest of the yugas. And in, I think, 1890, Blavatsky wrote the following about cycles. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, totally. Absolutely, we can hear you.
Me okay? All right.
Yep, we can hear you. Yep.
Okay. The world moves in cycles, which proceed under the impetus of 2 mutually antagonistic and destroying forces. The one striving to move humanity onward toward spirit, the other forcing mankind to gravitate downward into the very abysses of matter. So we're looking now at a slide. We see the earth, we see the arrows, matter with the yellow arrows, spirit with the blue arrows. It remains with men to help either the one or the other. Thus also it is our present task as Theosophists to help in one or the other direction. We are in the very midst of the Egyptian darkness of Kali Yuga. Now, she wrote this in 1890. The Black Age, the first 5,000 years of which, its dreary first cycle, is preparing to close on the world between 1897 and 1898. Unless we succeed in placing the Theosophical Society before this date on the safe side of the spiritual current, it will be swept away irretrievably into the deep called failure. And the cold waves of oblivion will close over its doomed head. Thus will have ingloriously perished the only association whose aims, rules, and original purposes answer in every particular and detail, if strictly carried out, to the innermost fundamental thought of every great adept reformer, the beautiful dream of a universal brotherhood of man. So I had some further notes on the principles. We've mentioned manas, kama, of course, the 4th principle, or desire, prana, the 3rd principle. Prana is a universal life force or energy. And, when, as a personality, when we die, we basically disconnect from prana. Prana doesn't go away. We just basically disconnect from it. So it's the life force. And the 2nd principle is linga sharira. Now, linga, he translates as model. We read that in the Secret Doctrine. Of course, linga translates in English as model, the model body. Sharira translates as body, so linga sharira. And the spiritual prototypes of all things exist in the immaterial world before those things become materialized on earth. No form can be given to anything, either by nature or by man, whose ideal type does not already exist on the subjective plane. Yeah, it's an interesting note too. He said, Barborka says that, you know, the linga sharira is very different from the physical body. He says that the linga sharira is not subject to constant change, as is the physical body. The linga sharira remains more or less permanent during the lifetime. So let me just jump over this. Well, Barborka, just quoting Barborka again, it should be reiterated that the division of man into 7 principles is for the purpose of indicating how man is builded, how he fits into the divine plan in accordance with the septenary law, which is operative so long as the Maha Manvantara endures. So he speaks to the idea that the essence of each one of the 7 principles must be brought to full development, and that happens during this great cycle, the Manvantara, the 7 rounds. And as we know, we've passed the midpoint, so we're past the 3.5 round point in the evolutionary cycle. So during the first 3 rounds, the earth forms and consolidates. And during the 4th round, it settles and hardens. During the last 3 rounds, it gradually returns to its first ethereal form. It is spiritualized, so to say. So during the course of the 7-round circuit of the life cycle of a planetary system. And when we say planetary system, we're talking about the 7 globes. It's one planet, but it's a system of 7 globes. So the turning point is the lowest point in the arc of descent. The arc of descent is a descent into matter. This lowest point is reached during the midpoint of the 4th major evolutionary phase of the human race. And that's the 4th subrace of the 4th root race on the 4th globe, which we've already passed, of a planetary system. During the course of the arc of descent, the involutionary process of spirit is taking place. Spirit is progressively immersed in matter. On the other hand, the arc of descent, the descending arc or the shadowy arc, represents the process of evolution of matter. When the culminating point in the descending arc is reached, the reverse process begins. An evolution of spirit and a concurrent involution of matter begins to take place. That is to say, a spiritualizing evolutionary process of the forms which the monads assume gradually eventuates. This process, in connection with the evolution of spirit, is called the arc of ascent. The ascending arc, or the luminous arc, during which spirit is progressively liberated from form with expanding self-consciousness. This process will continue, gathering greater and greater momentum during each round, until the final culmination at the end of the 7th round comes to pass. Then the involution of matter, as well as the evolution of spirit, will be completed. You know, a number of Theosophists have used this quote from T.S. Eliot from his 4 quartets. And let me just read the quote again. "We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time." Another way, Hope, perhaps we can go back to that slide with the arrows. Thank you. So, to better understand the arcs of descent and ascent, we can visualize the working of the 2 forces known as centrifugal and centripetal. So if we visualize a circle with a dot or a point in the middle, we can picture the dot moving to the circumference as the centrifugal force, and the centripetal force as the circumference collapsing into the dot at the center. In Blavatsky's writings, we read that the centrifugal force is the father, and the centripetal force is the mother, and the son is the progeny or offspring, the universe. So before I close, let me just recapitulate this from chapter 12 in The Peopling of the Earth. This is page 152, dealing with spirit and matter. Spirit and matter pursue their evolutionary progress in contrary directions. This is referred to as the evolution of matter and the involution of spirit on the descending arc of the evolutionary cycle. Then, on the ascending arc of the evolutionary cycle, the evolution of spirit and the involution of matter takes place. Finally, though one and the same in their origin, spirit and matter, when once they are on the plane of differentiation, begin each of them their evolutionary progress in contrary directions. Spirit falling gradually into matter, and the latter ascending to its original condition, that of a pure spiritual substance. Both are inseparable, yet ever separated in polarity on the physical plane. 2 like poles will always repel each other, while the negative and the positive are mutually attracted. So do spirit and matter stand to each other, the 2 poles of the same homogeneous substance, the root principle of the universe. So the final, let's see, we have slide number 8, the Deva kingdom. If we can move to slide number, okay.
Is that it? I don't have them numbered. I can't see the numbers.
Okay, that's it.
Okay.
I mean, this is, you know, a computer generated fractile image. So we're going to use this image for the Deva kingdom, which, you know, follows the human kingdom. Deva kingdom, Blavatsky also, you know, uses the word, the terms Dhyani, Chohanic, kingdom. Chohan is a Tibetan term for Lord or Master. So we can use the word celestial beings for our devas. In Christianity, we could use the word archangels. They participate in the peopling of the earth. A celestial being or deva serves as the regent of every round and of every globe and of every root race and of every sacred planet. Celestial beings who were once of a human kingdom. So the devas graduated in former manvantaras from human kingdoms. So in conclusion, this manifest universe will finish its great cycle and enter its pralaya, and it will be followed by another universe. A ray of the absolute will once again call another universe into being. Fohat will once again awaken the sleeping psyche. Eros, Fohat. The monads, the sparks of divinity, will once again appear upon the stage, yet in more glorified roles. We cannot, of course, cover all the material in the peopling of the earth in one session. We could spend years studying the contents of this book. Theosophy offers a glossary of terms that serve to guide us in our studies. And a wonderful online resource where you can plug in some of these terms from the glossary is theosophical.wiki. That's www.theosophical.wiki. You just go into the home page and go into the search bar and type in your word, Deva, or whatever word. So Jeffrey Barborka, he's left us with an invitation to take the secret doctrine off the bookshelf, to open its pages to the ancient wisdom, that which is beyond even the concept of reality. It's that which transcends all thought. He is inviting you, he's inviting us to connect with that mystery which we are. So the book, once again, deals with the second volume of the secret doctrine, anthropogenesis. It's the genesis, the evolution of man, God, and the universe. Again, restated, volume 1, cosmogenesis, deals with, with the origin, nature, destiny of the universe, but the second volume deals, with us, and it deals with the peopling of the earth. And I think that this book, Peopling of the Earth, is just a wonderful stepping stone for anyone, who's wanting to study the secret doctrine. It's very, very difficult. And I know that a lot of students of the secret doctrine have recommended that the first thing you want to do is to read and to study the proem. In the beginning of the secret doctrine, there's a proem, and especially the 3 fundamental propositions. And I know all of this, is very abstract material, and we start thinking about trillions of years, billions of years, and what are you talking about? Well, that's why it's important to read that third fundamental proposition, because there is a obligatory pilgrimage. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to come up for air and take a drink of water and see what tattva is this. And anybody who wants to say anything, please go ahead. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties that we had here at the library today. I guess, when one group comes in here, they change the settings on the machine, and another group comes in and they change the settings, and it's never the same. But for some reason today, I just, couldn't get it working right. But anyway, I think we got through. But I apologize for the technical problems. So, Hope, you can go ahead and put that slide up if you like. This is, I think, appropriate for our closing to visualize this picture. And Hope, were you able to download that track of music?
I can play it. Yep, I can play it for you now. I have to stop this share and I have to bring up the other share.
Well, when I lived in Illinois, I was 20 miles from Chicago, and the Ukrainian church there had a kitchen, and you could go there and get food to go. It was great.
I have a question about your presentation. I wanted to ask, do you have the impression, I've never thought of this before, but do you have the impression, any of you all, that the human, it almost sounds like the human evolution of spirit actually affects the Earth's evolution in that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that kind of up to us, or it's a dance between Gaia and us? What's your sense of that?
Well, I can't answer that question in any specific way, other in a general way, though everything is connected to everything else.
I just hadn't thought of it in the way that it's written there, and I will have to get his book. Ray, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, but I'm not sure how to express them right now. So, John, your grandparents were Ukrainian right?
My father's mother and father, my paternal grandparents were both born in Ukraine. And they emigrated actually initially to Manitoba and then from Manitoba to Ontario.